I, 17F, am not very close with my father, 41M, due to him not wanting to spend much time with me. When I was little, me and my mom, 39F, did lots of fun activities together, and she always played with me and entertained me, resulting in us having a good relationship now years later. But whenever I'd try to get my dad to play with me or watch something with me, he'd be uninterested and tell me to go play with my mom. This happened practically every day, with me wanting to watch him work on his car or ask him to play, but he always pushed me off. And as I grew up, I believe that my dad just didn't like me, so I asked him to play or teach me stuff less and less. He would only do stuff with me on my birthday and holidays, though he always made sure I was fed when I was hungry, and if I was upset he'd comfort me, but other than that he would avoid me. Now to today. I was in the kitchen getting a snack and my dad was outside in the backyard on the phone with one of his friends. I could hear what he was talking about from the open kitchen window, but I was ignoring it until he said my name in their conversation. I listened and more and heard him telling his friend that he wishes he had a son more than a daughter because he never wanted a girl and didn't try to build much of a relationship with me because of it, and said he had tried to get my mom to have a second kid to see if he could get a son, but my mom didn't want 2 children at the time, so he just ignored me when I was able to walk and talk so he could focus on other things and let my mom raise me. I went to my room after hearing this and am writing this. Now, I want to tell my mom because how hurt I feel, but I also don't want to cause an argument between them since they are really close. Does anyone have a few suggestions on what I should do? Should I ask him about it or just tell my mom? First update, August 29th, 2023, 8 hours later. Hi everyone, I have a short update for my situation from my last post. I firstly want to say how grateful and heartwarming seeing your comments were, and your kind words really helped, along with the few people who messaged me asking if I needed someone to talk to. I really love you all. On to the update. My mom got home from work and I waited until she wasn't busy to talk to her. I asked her to come with me to my room, and once we both were in there with the door closed, I told her what I overheard and how I felt. Not just about his hurtful words, but also how I've felt my whole life with how he treated me like I'm a stranger. My mom was quiet as I talk, and once I finished she hugged me and told me how she's really sorry, and hugged me while telling me how I'm the best thing to ever happen to her, and that it didn't matter that I'm a girl because she'd love me either way, and that's how parents should be, and she'd always be there for me. After a bit she went to confront my dad, who just admitted it. They got into an argument from it, which ended with him going to stay at my grandma's house for a bit. I'll add another update if anything new comes up. Edit. I forgot to mention, but my mom also told me how she's been doing her best to fill both roles of my mom and dad since my dad wasn't. Second update, September 3rd, 2023, 5 days later. Wow, first off I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my last 2 posts. I've been given lots of advice and support, which I really want to say thank you for. You have no idea how much it means to me. On to the update. My dad came home last night and my mom was hesitant to let him into the house, but he said he needed to talk, so she let him in. Me and my mom sat in the living room and he started apologizing for what had happened and was telling my mom and me that he regretted what he said and would step up to be a better father to me and to make things right. My mom told him that what he did was not acceptable in any way and that it's not a matter where apologizing will fix it. I then asked how exactly did he plan to make up ignoring me my whole childhood and not being a dad to me, and how I'm turning 18 in a couple months and then I'll be an adult and won't be a child anymore. I then said that ignoring me all my childhood and pushing me away because of what's between my legs was a horrible thing and I don't forgive him. He started apologizing more and had some tears in his eyes, which sort of surprised me, but my mom asked me to head to my room, so I did, and I could hear my mom saying stuff and then my dad leave the house again. She came into my room after and told me that she would be not allowing him in our home anymore and gave me a hug before telling me that she texted his mom the night he left for a few days about what happened, and apparently my grandma tore into him about it and kicked him out, so he had to stay at one of his friend's house. Third update, October 2nd, 2023, 1 month later. Hello all, it's been almost a month since my last update, since nothing much had happened with the situation until last weekend. If you want to know the full story, then look at my previous posts, then come back to this one. I was home alone last weekend watching The Mandalorian, hope I spelled it right, as I was resting after being hit by a car. Story for another time, but I'm fine. And as I was laying in bed, I heard knocking on the front door. I went to check and saw my dad standing there. His left eye was completely bloodshot looking, and he asked to come in. At first I said no and said if he wanted to talk we could where we were at. He started apologizing for everything and then tried to guilt me into forgiving him and to try and get my mom to let him stay again. But when I said no, he got a bit mad and started to rant about what's been happening with his life recently. I wasn't really interested and just waiting for him to back up so I can shut the door when he started to calm down a bit and then drop a bomb and said that he wasn't very interested in me growing up because I was not his kid. I was dumbfounded hearing that and asked what he meant, and he said if you were my child you would not be a girl, so you aren't my kid. I actually was shocked he thought that was how it worked and I was not his child because I wasn't born a boy. Like WTF. I started to tell him that he's an actual ret asterisk RD if he thought that's how it worked, and that made him mad and he slapped me and started to yell, so I pushed him backwards and he fell off the porch, so I shut the door quickly and locked it before calling my mom, who immediately called the police and rushed home as he was yelling and trying to get the door back open. After a few minutes the cops showed up and he was taken in an ambulance to a hospital because the fall backwards broke his wrist. Then he was arrested for assault on a minor since we have cameras that caught the whole thing on video. My mom had been comforting me the past week because I had to deal with that, and now we are okayed. I probably won't update again unless something major happens, but I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has reached out and left nice comments on all of my posts. Okay, next interesting story. My BF, 30M, betrayed me, 25F. And refuses to cut off contact with the other girl. So my partner and I have been dating for over 3 years. For the first 6 months, we did not have titles as he wanted to overcome some emotional hurdles before then, which I was okay about as long as he wasn't playing me, which he would reassure me. For months into dating, we both admitted that we both talked to other people in the first 3 months, and he even admitted he went on a date once, but that was it. We laughed it off as it was the very beginning, and we both appreciated hearing the truth from one another. Fast forward 2 years, when we are leaving his friend's listening party, he mentions a woman that features on his friend's album and is also featuring in one of my BF's songs too. He says that he doesn't want to have secrets between us and that he met both her and me at the same time, and at first he sometimes would contemplate dropping things with me so he could get to know her better, but ended up choosing me. I was annoyed as he obviously kept this from me and did not think to disclose this information when they were making music together. I was just under the impression that she has only been friend and nothing more, but I decided to shrug it off as he was telling me now. 2 days later he brought it up again and added that they also hooked up one. After hearing this, my annoyance turned into so much anger and sadness as I felt stupid and played. Even though he was single and it was not cheating, he could have told me in one of the many conversations we had about our early stages and how we tried dating others then to take away from our fear of getting serious. I also felt betrayed because even though I never met the girl, I feel like he should have at least told me he stayed somewhat friends with her and was making music with her. We would argue on and off about this for 2 months as I was having a hard time letting go of the resentment and anxiety of them being friends, but I didn't want to be the GF to tell my BF to cut off who he chooses to be friends with. Eventually, I tried letting go of the whole topic as I made my choice to stay, and I can't hold on to him and the resentment at the same time. Plus, he would always reassure me that he loves me and that he has his boundaries in place, so I do not need to worry. Although I didn't tell him on and off, I would constantly think about that situation and how uncomfortable I felt with the friendship. It was to the point where I would stay up late just torturing myself with these thoughts. Months later, when he posted an invitation for his 30th on his Instagram, she commented and said that she will be in town then and that she's going to do her best to make it to the party. He tells me this and says he forgot to block her from seeing his story. I get really upset at this because for the longest he has told me they aren't really friends. They just appreciate each other as artists. But I found it odd that someone who isn't your friend is comfortable enough to want to come. Plus, it was very upsetting that now I will feel uncomfortable at my partner's birthday. Lucky for me, she never came, but I was hit with a wave of sadness for a few weeks because I was unhappy in our relationship. There was other stuff happening in our relationship, but that's another Reddit post, lol. About 2 months later, we are hanging out and he randomly tells me that the same girl had sent him a song she made and what is his opinion. But he did not know how to tell her he didn't like the song. I went off on him a little bit as this really felt like a friendship rather than a single musical interaction. When he heard this, he told me, yeah, she's my music friend, but that's about it. Even though I do trust him, I was not comfortable with the switch up on terminology of their friendship, and while I do recognize he was doing his best to reassure me, it was not enough. I went home that day and I was not able to sleep due to the anxiety of potential scenarios involving their relationship. I later called him and explained what happened and threw tip how I too want to overcome this argument, but I think he has to help me out by compromising with me on something. Long story short, he was not happy because I didn't want him making music with her or talking to her. He disagreed but never once proposed a compromise. Eventually, this girl released a song on an important day for me, and he messaged me saying he was going to share it on his story and to please not feel upset by it. I look at his story and he is posting about how proud he was of her work, and this broke me because he didn't even ask about my day, and leading up to my event it felt as if he was not fully there as support. This partially led to anagimwai, which resulted in him proposing we go on a break. This break only lasts a week as we both don't really believe in them, and aside from all this we have a really strong connection. When we reconciled, it was agreed that he would only speak to her if she said something first, and he stated that he isn't even interested in the friendship anymore as our situation has put him off of it. Our relationship became pretty good after that up until last week when it was the anniversary of the song they made together. He celebrated by posting the song on his story, and 2 days later he reshared the girl's story posting the same song her story. I got mad and I told him to respect my boundaries. I just knew they must have talked in between post sharing, and he was beating around the bush with the topic until I directly asked him and he said yes. But he got really upset with me as he claims to have respected my boundaries as she responded to him first, and he didn't speak to her once when she shared the song. He was so fed up with the topic that he was being pretty rude in the moment, and after a few days of not speaking he wanted to go on the break we never properly went on. But I am thinking maybe it might be best to go out separate ways, as I do feel toxic and controlling, and I also do not want to deal with this same thing over and over. I love the guy so much, and I know for a fact he loves me too. This situation has gone on for a little bit over a year now, and it's contributed to me feeling anxious. What do you think of this situation? Write in the comments what you think about these stories. Subscribe to the channel. Love you.